key for Catella.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I don't know if you could hear that on my side. I don't know. I had a little interference right there, but welcome into the Heady Postgame Show with your host, Todd Fox, along with.
Dominic Lorenz, Catella Chronicles in the house.
Yes, sir. Fresh off of calling some more games over there. He'll get into that in a little bit. But first, we want to just let you know this is your one-stop shop for Ducks hockey, especially post-game attire. We're going to give you the breakdown on the game as the Ducks lose two, but then they've won two, and we'll talk about that as well. Dominic was we weren't able to get on the other night, I don't think, with Vegas, so we'll kind of sum that game up as well if you want to get into that. But before we do, we just want to let you know that if you haven't subscribed, go on over to Catella Chronicles. We didn't get it on here last second. I forgot to add the link. But usually you can catch the link if you're not into YouTube. You can catch it on his Instagram page. We'll have that up there as well. So give a like and subscribe over there, or a follow to our good buddy Dominic Lorenz from Catella Chronicles. So
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. And as we get started tonight, the Ducks win, my friend, 4-2. Another impressive netminder game by the goalie. And then also you had some pretty good scoring, which is always good because the Ducks have been a little enamored at times with all these injuries. But guys have been stepping up and they've been looking pretty good.
I think overall, and tonight I might be a little more demure. I was at the Ducks Vegas Golden Knights game on Sunday and completely lost my voice. And yesterday, having to call and broadcast some high school soccer games, I had to bring the voice back a little bit. So we're at like 90%. So, I won't be going crazy tonight, but a win is a win. I will say tonight, for tonight's win against the Kraken, up until that 4-minute mark of the third period when Seattle ended up getting both their goals, I thought this was the most complete game that the Ducks have had all season. Offense, defense, Dostal and net, speed, strength, crisp passing, all the little intangibles that we've been talking about all season long came together tonight in a game, the final game before the Olympic break. Yes, there's some sprinkling of some games going on tomorrow, like Seattle going to LA. You had to take care of business right after the big losing streak, then the big winning streak, and then a couple of poor performances against Edmonton and especially Vancouver. I said it after the Vancouver loss. Vegas and Seattle at home must wins, get over 60 points, and find a way to get on some positive trends going into this 2.5 weeks off. And the Ducks did that perfectly. You couldn't get any better. They had big leads in both games. Yes, they kind of allowed them to not slip away, but got a little too close for comfort late in both those games. But something to work forward to most of the way. But I would say most definitely great work from the Ducks, especially tonight, because I have a lot of thoughts on the last two games combined, and we'll get into it as we go along.
Absolutely. But first, what we got to do is I got to bring up a couple points, and I got to give you I guess I got to give us flowers together, and then sounds kind of funny, but I got to give us our flowers, and then I also got to give you yours because first off, we both came out and said, man, you got to take care of the Kraken because earlier in the season, they didn't start off to a good, they didn't start off good at all. And this was a team that while the Ducks were beating good teams in the East, they were losing to teams like the Kraken. And so we're like, okay, we're going to take another crack at the Kraken in game 2. But we wound up losing to them at home the same way we lost to open the season. So it was kind of deflating the first 2 games against the Kraken overall. But we said they would rebound, and guess what? They lost both games 3-1 to the Kraken to start the season. The last 2 to close out their series with the Kraken, they won by the same score, 4-2. So go figure there. And then for you, dude, I got to give you credit too, because you're like, hey man, a successful homestand is going to be 9 to 10 points. We're going to need those points. We're going to need to be over 60 points. And I think they did 2 points better. They got 63.
Yep.
So you called it. You were like, man, I'd be very disappointed if we didn't hit 61, and they hit 63. So they gave you an extra 2 right there.
I think the key in that was, and I think what's really turned the Ducks season around is taking care of business against your divisional teams. The schedule, as we've talked about from opening day till now, it's a gauntlet. Every team has been put through the gauntlet because of the next 2.5 weeks being on rest for the Italy Olympics. But the Ducks have done it in stride. They've had big winning streaks. They've had some tough stretches. But when they needed to ball out the most, and pretty much ever since that back-to-back with the Kings in mid-January, something clicked. And I know they dealt with injuries. Terry was out a lot. McTavish, Carlson's still out. And the Ducks were winning games. And I've been really, really impressed. And we'll talk about it as we get into this Kraken game and probably closer to the 3 stars of the game. The veterans on this team are playing like veterans. The youngsters are taking that leadership and now moving and gaining that experience and taking it to the next level. And I'm going to 100% put that credit on 2 guys, Jacob Trouba and Alex Killorn. I've talked about it at the last couple of post-game shows I've been on, especially about Killorn and Trouba all season. Those 2 guys have 100% anchored down the point we've made early on in the season. You know, we have Strome and Vetrano. Vetrano's been out. Strome hasn't been the same. Who is going to step up? And Killorn and Trouba have done that immensely well. And I'm not going to shy away from it. The Ducks need to go out and give Trouba a contract extension. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. I think in a year and a half's time since he came over from the New York Rangers, he has played his ass off. And he's still got something to prove in the tank. And I think those 2 guys have really steered the ship when needed after that massive losing streak and got us exactly where we needed to be. 9 wins in the last 11 games. And truthfully, I'm not going to be mad about the Edmonton loss. I'm more pissed at the Vancouver loss. But regardless, 9-2 in the last 11, I am taking that 100%.
Yeah, and I think right now, as we have almost a month off here, we're not going to play to the 25th. I'm hoping that the Ducks can get some revenge on Edmonton. That's going to be a huge game to start the second half. But before we preview that, because I'm going to get your thoughts, here's what's coming up on the show. We're going to give you our thoughts on tonight's game. We're also going to relive the other last night where they beat the Vegas Knights. And then we're also going to talk about our thoughts on the first half of the season, where they've come, what we expect in the second half. All that plus we're going to get into the 3 stars of the game as we're going to highlight this game right now. So the Ducks outshot the Kraken 31-28. You said they played the most complete game. And in the first 2 periods, they were clearly the better team. And the Ducks did everything right, both offensively and defensively. And then when the Kraken needed to put on a rush at the end for TNT fans to stay interested, they did. But let's go over some goal scoring tonight, and let's get started with that. Who got it started for the Ducks?
Absolutely. After a clean first period, it was kind of back and forth pond hockey. Who else is going to score for the Ducks, right? If I asked any Ducks fan, who do you think is going to be the first goal of the night? I would say 90 to 95% are always going to say this name. And it's Cutter Gauthier, his 25th of the season. Jackson Lacombe representing Team USA. He gets his 30th assist. Mikhail Gramlin, who's played out of his mind talking about veterans, he steps up in a massive way, getting his 15th assist. 1-0 Ducks 4 minutes into that second period. A great way to start it off in a 1-0 lead for Cutter Gauthier. Cannot be understated.
Oh, absolutely. And then to end the first period, man, that was a big goal.
Yeah, the way the first period went, and you knew it was kind of be back and forth. Speed was playing. It almost felt like these 2 teams had never seen each other. Like you're getting to know each other, and it was kind of that back and forth style of play. But to start off the second period, come out with those adjustments, Gauthier with the goal, I think it just set the tone in the right direction for Anaheim. And they were, even though it was 0-0 after 1, they were having their way with the Kraken, the better scoring opportunities with the Ducks. The uneven rushes were the Ducks. The better saves were with the Ducks. And that kind of led into a broken puck, loose play, Trouba, which accounts now for the second goal of the game. Trouba, his 9th of the year from Harkins and Paling. Paling has been outstanding on the back two lines for the Ducks, his 17th assist. And with less than 30 seconds left in the second, the Ducks take a 2-0 lead to the locker room. Jacob Trouba's 9th of the season. And the caveat of the second period, the bullshit hit by Seattle at the end of the second period on Troy Terry. Well, clearly I'm gonna foreshadow a little bit. That mother effer's the hoser of the game. Just putting it out there, gets a 10-minute game misconduct. It was Jacob Melanson. What a dickhead move. Like, there's no play to the puck. It's against the boards, and you go freaking right arm right on into Terry, and it creates the whole massive scuffle, 10-minute minor, and then 2-minute. It was a very penalty-driven game from that point on in the first half of the third period. But I'm glad the Ducks at least, stood up for a teammate and had the 2-0 lead going into the third period.
Now, real quick, Dom, if this would have happened in game 1 of the season, versus the Kraken, I think the last 3 games would be very, very highly contentious because that's a rivalry starter. That type of hit, these guys aren't going to forget. So the fact that we're done with them already this season, you best believe they're going to remember that guy for next season.
Well, yeah, and the way a couple weeks ago in Seattle went, the third period was very much the same, very physical, very chippy. So I thought we would get a little bit of that early on in the first period. We did not. It wasn't until late in the second you got a smattering of it in the third period, but that was kind of it. It wasn't completely helter-skelter where it was penalty here, physicality there, and after the whistle kind of beatdowns. It was just kind of that point in particular. It was just a what the heck are you doing moment. I get maybe you're trying to, up your team going into the breakdown 2-0 and nothing's worked for you. And I could understand a shoulder check, a little knockdown, whatever. But it's what they call, the launching element of it all that I took exception to.
Yeah, absolutely. So that started us into the third period.
And then veteran presence. I tell you, this is the biggest factor. Alex Killorn, 24 seconds into the third on the power play, not so much power play, but 4-on-4 hockey after the penalties after the end of the second. Ducks get on the board. Killorn 7th, Lacomb's 31st assist, Ian Moore 7th, and the veteran does it again. Killorn has been off the freaking chain lately, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Hell yeah.
It's just, he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He knows what it's going to take. And maybe, yes, the first 2 years of his contract have not been pretty, but the Ducks haven't played pretty as a team. I feel we're getting the best portions that we have left of Alex Killorn. And I've talked about it a lot about, we really need Mason McTavish to step up this time of year and the young guys. If Killorn's going to take his game to the next level now, and we still got a month and a half to go up until playoffs, that's good. The more the merrier. Join the bandwagon. Start playing your best hockey. And then the Ducks add on a dinky little broken play. The Seattle Kraken goalie misplays the puck. Harkins is there. Harkins taps it to Johnson. He's got the whole net to himself.
Oh, yeah.
Third goal of the year, and I love this fourth line. Johnston, Harkins, and a guy who has been a undrafted free agent signing. He's been living in San Diego with the goals and making a name for himself. Gets called up with the injuries to the Ducks a couple of weeks ago, and the Ducks, thankfully, have not sent him back down. Tim Washy, 1 goal, no assist, only 1 point, gets an assist tonight on this Johnston goal. 12 games. He doesn't light up the scorecard at the NHL level, but he has done the intangibles perfectly well, just kind of like Jeffrey Viel in the trade. Those two guys have added a little something to this Duck squad, and Johnson made this game from those passes from Washy and Harkins 4-0 Ducks.
And that's it, right? We don't have to talk about it anymore. Or no?
I wasn't going to talk about the Kraken. They got 2 last-second goal. One on a nice deflection. The other was a pinball ricochet off Trouba and Lacombe. You're throwing shit on a shingle at the net and trying to see what sticks. They kept the game a little close. Seattle got a little pressure late on, but the Ducks, even though they missed a couple empty net opportunities, they found a way to lock it down, win this game 4-2 the final. Ducks outshooting Seattle 11-7 in the first. 11-10 in the second. And let me get to the second period here for a moment. There was a stretch in that second period, 8, 10, maybe 12 minutes. Ducks outshot Seattle 10-1.
Yeah.
A very fluid, very well-run second period. Seattle outshoots them 11-9 in the third, but 31-28 in favor of the Ducks. And I just think a very complete game. I think, the goal and what every team strives for is that perfect 60 minutes of hockey. Mm-hmm. Tonight, my opinion, the Ducks has had as close as we've seen so far. 56 minutes of hockey tonight. The last 4 minutes, you got to fix it up a little bit. But I just think everything worked for them tonight. To come off of that massive win against Vegas, to translate it into another massive, divisional game. The winner of this game essentially was going to be in third place going into the Olympic break. Again, Seattle's got LA tomorrow. So in some way, shape, or form, if LA wants to help us out and pick up a win, that would be great. I can't believe I'm saying this. Our friend Bill from Top Fan Rivalry, if you can give the King some good juju, please be our guest. I just think this was the most complete game. It was speed. It was physicality, smart passing. I know you're a big passing guy. Crisp passes, getting everything right. There wasn't much miscommunication. They were aggressive when needed to be. They stood back defensively. And like I said, 56 out of 60 minutes of this game, it was well-oiled machine. If the Ducks can build on this game moving forward, it's going to be massive, especially being in third place going into the Olympic break.
Yeah, I like it a lot, the fact that they were able to play, the first 7-game win streak they played earlier in the season, when they were winning those games, it seems like it was different. It was done differently. Now, like you said, it's more complete. They're playing better on both sides. They're not having to outscore. So, like this last 7-game winning streak and 9 out of the last 11 has been more impressive because they are doing the little things that count, that winning teams need to do to avoid losing streaks. So I do like the way that they're playing right now, and it's at the right time. So with that being said, let's give the 3 stars. Let's do the hoser for this game, and then we'll get your thoughts on the Vegas game, and then we'll jump into our overall, impressions of the first half of the season technically. So without further ado, real quick, brought to you in part by 714 Tickets. 714 Tickets. 714 Tickets is a place to go to get 10% off every single time. What other podcast brings you a 10% discount? Not just for just signing up. You get it every time you use 714 Tickets just by going to the Apply Now code and putting in HITI. Then that works for any kind of ticket, not just Ducks hockey, not just Kings hockey, not just the Olympics, concerts, whatever it is. 714 Tickets has it. So just go there and mention us in the Apply Now code, and you even get 5% back for your next purchase. So it's like you're making 15% by just using us. So with that being said, brought to you in part by 714 Tickets, it's the Dominique Lorenz from Catella Chronicles, 3 stars of the game. Well, let's hear it, my friend.
Here we go. Well, after the 4-2 win tonight, Ducks defeating the Seattle Kraken to split the season series 2-2. 2 fun facts. They go 9 wins out of their last 11 games heading into the Olympic break. And the Ducks improved to 18-0 when leading after 2 periods this season. So massive facts for Joe Quenneville, his staff, the players. A great way to go into this Olympic break that starts on Friday in Milan, Italy. But the top 3 stars of the game tonight, I think there's a lot to choose from with this well-rounded game. Going to give some love at the 3rd star of the game to a guy who's on the back line. Don't really talk about him much. Picks up 2 assists tonight, and it's Jansen Harkins. Harkins, to me, he and Ryan Poehling are very similar players. Sneaky, sprint speed, and they just pestered the opposing team with crisp passes. And I would have said the same thing about Ryan Poehling for Sunday's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. He was the same exact way Harkins was tonight. So with 2 assists, 2 points, Jansen Harkins, your third star of the game. Then the number 2 star of the game, when you talk about complete games, all sides of the puck, you're going to talk about Jackson Lacombe representing Team USA. He has a 2-assist night, 2-point night. The anchor of this defensive staff, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He and Jacob Trouba have been your top 2 defensemen this year for Anaheim. He's put on weight, muscle. He's become more physical. He got that extension in the offseason, and he is playing like he should this season. Absolutely undisputed, the number 1 defenseman for the Ducks, Jackson Lacombe, your 2 star of the game. And then if we're giving out love to defensemen, I just mentioned it, do it again. Jacob Trouba, your number 1 star of the game, gets the point shot to put the Ducks up 2-0, a clean, crisp defensive game in an area of the Ducks this year that we've harped on a lot about defense. This was a game where the Ducks defense came to play when needed against a divisional rival, got the job done. Trouba's 9th goal of the year. Give him a contract. Let him stay an Anaheim Duck. He fits the system. I know Joel Quenneville loves him. He wouldn't be on the top line with Jackson Lacombe if it wasn't for that. He is
anchoring the team. I think you're
so Harkins, Lacombe, and Trouba.
There you go. I like that. Capsule checking in real quick. Heedy gang. This past weekend, I went to my first hockey Ducks game versus the Golden Knights. 10 out of 10 experience, and even got a Mighty Ducks Tech giveaway. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was a fun. You picked a great game. I was there with my dad and my brother-in-law. So it's absolutely fantastic. The pond was rocking. Ducks won back-to-back wins on this homestand. You could not get any better for the last 2 games for Anaheim.
Absolutely. That was pretty impressive. And before we do that, let's get into some hoserness of the night. And I think you already gave it away, but let's do it anyway. So, Dom, your hoser of the week or hoser of the night.
It could be hoser of the. It's going to be hoser of the freaking 4-game series against Seattle this year. It could be that. It's easily going to Jacob Melanson, that dumbass SOB, launching elbow form right into Troy Terry at the end of the second period. Cheap shot. And I guess that's the only part of his game that he must like, because he, in 20 games, has 1 goal, 3 assists. He does nothing on the ice. He gets himself a 10-minute misconduct. He gets a 2-minute roughing call. He contributes nothing to this Kraken team except for dumb, stupid plays that lead to the Ducks winning. So Jacob Melanson, adios. We'll see you later. Ducks split the series this year with a 4-2 win.
That's a big win, too, because it keeps them ahead of Seattle. Like you said, they could be right there with LA. LA could jump them tomorrow, but the best LA could do is possibly jump Seattle. That's it. So and then Seattle could tie us. So we're in a good spot right there in a very close division. So not too bad. Any other thoughts on the Golden Knights game that you attended?
Yes. It was I'll put the disclaimer out there. Sunday was the first time I had been to a Ducks Golden Knights game. Had not been to a head-to-head match before. The closest I was you and I doing the watch party at Noble Airworks back in November. First and foremost, I'm going to get this one out of the way. The Ducks played great. Got off to a hot start. Physical. Put the puck. Very similar game to what they did tonight against Seattle. They kind of took that blueprint and moved right on over. So I thought that was a great, little mix and match, knowing it's, teams that you've seen a lot in the past. The last time you're probably going to see them in the regular season, depending on how the postseason bracket works out. But I thought the Ducks brought an exceptional game on the tape against Vegas. Vegas fans are pussies. Can I put that out there? I'm sorry. Okay. We're gonna strap up here for a second. The game was 6:30 on Sunday, ESPN game of the week, which was after Boston, Tampa Bay, the outdoor classic in Tampa, home of the Buccaneers. Okay. You know how national market games go, just like tonight. The Ducks on TNT, they did not start on time because you got to wait for the other game to finish and all the broadcasting right things, right? I have a whole freaking row of Golden Knights fans behind me, and I'm sitting there saying, sweet Jesus, Lord, help me. And Lord did. Thank you. Thank you, hockey gods, for giving us the win that game because I wasn't going to hear it anymore.
Yeah.
So they're after the Ducks score the first goal of the game, whole row. Well, if the game started on time, we'd be playing better. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is going to make the difference between you going down 1-0 or being up 1-0. That's strike one. Okay. Strike two. Dostal had a very good game against the Golden Knights. He makes a couple left-handed larcenies, sprawling out. Ducks are doing the right things. Then we hear, of course, and this is friendly banter, my grandmother could make that play. Okay.
Yeah.
Smoke it again. And then strike number three, they leave early when losing 4-3. Then the SOB behind me decides to kick open his Diet Coke and just spill it. So I don't realize until after that Mr. Poor Sport wasted probably $9 on a soda to open it, pour it behind my chair, and then leave it in the cup holder. Why are we wasting money in this economy?
I think he might have did that on purpose, man. I mean, I look.
And I was very calm for most of the game. I was cheering normally, not saying anything bad.
Yeah.
Good. But I was like, we're wasting money on Diet Coke. How dare you? That is good soda. Maybe not Diet Coke, but that is soda, my vice, going to waste. How dare you in this economy?
Well, I'm telling you right now, Vegas fans that's a problem with a new franchise. They're very cocky, especially and very and not knowledgeable. So they haven't been around, and most, if there is hockey transplants in Vegas, they're few and far between, but they're mostly new fans. And then you have to couple that with the fact that, they got spoiled their first year going to the Stanley Cup and all that stuff.
Yep.
So that's a franchise I think pissed off a lot of people out the gate. And because you got to pay your dues. Usually a new franchise needs to pay their dues, have a few sucky years before they start making the playoffs, and they're just automatically given a super team and they went right to the cup. So very frustrating. But hey, we played really good against the Knights, and that's an impressive victory.
Yep. Sweeping the season series against Vegas as well, which was fantastic.
Yes. Brooks says we should have had a 5-on-4 power play. You agree with that?
Correct. Yeah. At the end of the second, they gave Trouba an extra 2 minutes for roughing the guy that hit Terry. And then even later in the third period, when one of the Seattle guys was basically draping Mikhail Granlund from the backside of Dostal through the Ducks offensive zone, they gave him 2 minutes for roughing, but then they said Granlund embellished the fall. And I'm like, the dude freaking pushed him in the back and he sent him sailing. So the Ducks could have had at least 2 more power plays on the night. Luckily, we were already up 3-0. We have this game in hand again. Gave up 2 goals late. Don't like that. Clean that up a little bit. But I think that's completely doable work for a really good game put on ice tonight.
Absolutely. Brooke also says, can't wait till the Golden Knights have to rebuild. Amen to that. We'll see how many of those fans fill that Verizon Center. That's for sure.
Exactly.
MC says, Vamos Patos. I like that.
Yes, indeed. But, the Pacific Division, as you talked about a moment ago, is getting closer and closer. Mm-hmm. So Vegas still has one more. Vegas, I believe, has one more game. Kraken, the Kings have one more game. So everybody plays either tomorrow or Thursday before the official Olympic break. But right now, Vegas and Edmonton. Edmonton lost tonight to Toronto. So both of them tied at 64 points. Our Ducks, third place, 63 points, 1 point out of first. Then you have the Kraken at 61, Kings at 60, San Jose, who's gone on a little bit of a downtrot, 58 points, Calgary at 50, and the Canucks at 42. If the playoffs started today, the Ducks would be playing Edmonton in the first round.
Very interesting matchup right there, because there's some strengths for both teams and disadvantages for both teams against each other. So it's not like you're looking at Edmonton like, man, they could wipe the floor with us. I think we can contend with them. Yep. They scare me a little bit more than the Golden Knights, but look what we did to the Golden Knights.
I agree.
Now in the Pacific Division, before we get to what the Ducks did, I think we can pretty much eliminate the Flames and Canucks. Sharks barely holding on, but a winning streak will get them right back in it. Correct. But are you super happy with the fact, because I talked about this on the last one that I did, the post game. I figure if you got a good enough winning record at home by 7 games or so by the end of the season, and you're 500 or better, you should make the playoffs, right? If you're 500 and better on the road.
You would assume so, right? I know stranger things have happened, but with the Ducks, 17-8-1 at Honda Center, 13-15-2 on the road in those last two games at Edmonton and Vancouver. So the Ducks, before those two losses, were playing 500 on the road, 6-0 in overtime or shootouts. And they showed a stat tonight on TNT, which I thought was very intriguing. The Ducks, with this win tonight, 18 and if I have the stat right, yes, 18-28 in regulation. In shootouts or overtime, 12-2.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
When your playmakers need to step up, the Terrys, the Carlsons, the McTavishes, the Cutter Gauthiers, when those guys have to step up in the bright light moments, the Ducks have been absolutely locked down and solid. And what's crazy is, and I know a lot of people have talked about this on social media, that the NHL needs to abandon the point system because you have a team like the Ducks, 30-23-3, 63 points, third in the division. Then you have a team like Vegas, 25. So the Ducks have 5 more regulation wins than Vegas. They have 7 more losses. Vegas has only 16 losses, but Vegas has 14 overtime losses to the Ducks 3. That is a grand total of an 11-point swing. If they lost half of those games, they'd be at 57 instead of 64. Do you think the NHL should abandon the point system?
That's a tough one, man. I mean, I don't know. Some I do like it in some ways because you still get a point out of it, but I don't know, man, because I know some teams play for the shootout.
You play for the pity point.
Yeah, you play for the pity point if you can get it. So I guess it's here to stay because the Kings got 14 as well. You're seeing several teams that are going to have double digits because you got 3 in the Central with 9 or 10. So it's just going to be a thing for right now. I have to say I'm kind of like 50-50 on it, man. If you take it away, I'm not going to cry, but I'm not also going to be happy if they keep it or you know what I mean? Like it's not going to kill me either way.
I don't think the NHL would ever take it away because I feel 2 points and 1 point is very similar. Now, I know in soccer it's 3 for a win and 1 for kind of one of those overtime games.
Yeah.
I think that would be more drastic in that sense. But, I think the NHL completely improved the overtime system of moving it to 3-on-3 hockey.
Well, maybe
that's to me.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the way we go then. Maybe we do a soccer thing and add another point. Give it more of an incentive to, hey, man, because the way we're shooting in these shootouts, dude, like it seems like we pull it up a notch.
Yeah, and even the goaltenders, Dostal, Husso, Mrazek, they came up big in shootouts this season, so as well.
Yes. So with talking about that, currently in a playoff spot, thoughts on this first half, Dominique from Telechronicles, who's here with us on Heedy, as you always are when doing the post games.
Hey, it's year 5 of Heedy. Did we say that yet tonight? Did we say that tonight?
No, we haven't.
Year 5. We're almost to the birthday.
Yeah, we got that anniversary coming up during baseball season. But with hockey right now, again, we're blessed to have you on, and we've had a few other guys on. I think we want to get Kyle from Locked On Ducks on here again.
I want to have a busy 2 weeks, even with the Olympics going on. Maybe we'll cover some Olympics. But during the 2 weeks of no Ducks hockey, have no fear. Todd and I, we're going to try to bring in some people, have a little halfway through the season kind of podcast, talk about things, and kind of get back to our weekly podcast. And just, keep the conversation rolling with all things Anaheim Ducks.
And probably kick in some U.S. hockey, see how they're doing and who they match up against. And maybe we would do a post game with U.S. hockey. Who knows? Because I know we're going to try to do that with World Baseball Classic too. So we might as well just go USA.
Hey, and the Ducks the Ducks actually have representation with Mikhail Granlund for Finland.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jackson Lacombe, USA. I have the what shirt am I?
There it is.
I got the USA polo on today. And then I have, but then Dostal and Gudas representing the Czech Republic. So you got some guys, even though Leo Carlsson can't play, he would have been with Team Sweden. But there is Ducks representation and something to watch for in the Olympics.
Absolutely. So, if we're going to save most of the coverage about the Ducks' first half of the season, we'll probably do that for for the podcast. But I just want to get your overall opinion
Yeah.
on the first half of the Ducks season. Did it meet your expectation? Did it exceed it? Or this is probably the stupidest part of the question. Are you disappointed? Because I know you can't go with that one.
I am very disappointed that we're doing good.
Are you
Because
Artie Moreno?
I don't have my drink with me, but I'm very disappointed that we're winning.
Okay, Artie.
No. In all honesty, glass is half full right now, man. I think the Ducks have exceeded my expectations in the preseason. I said the Ducks would probably be around the 5th spot, fighting for a wild card spot, and we were first place for about a month. And
Yes.
we're now just 1 point from getting back to first place that we, missed out on during that 9-game losing streak. So to me, completely have exceeded my expectations for this season. I think the combination of the veterans with the youthfulness, and the youthfulness has really stepped up in a big way. And I think if there's anything to circle, it's how the youth on this team has fully integrated themselves and have set themselves apart as individuals and not clinging on the coattails of the veterans. Beckett Seneca, clearly rookie of the year caliber player. I know tonight on the broadcast, they're talking about the kid from the New York Islanders who was the number 1 pick, saying he's probably got it in the bag. If you look at the numbers, Beckett Seneca, first in goals amongst rookie, every other category, second. He is battling. He is getting stronger. The hair on his balls is starting to be seen. He's playing defense. Honestly, if you look at him from game 1 to now, it looks like he's gotten bigger, more physical, like he's putting on muscle mass. And, he's 20 now. He's entering a new era of life, a new decade. But this kid is something special. Terry, yes, he was out for, 18 games, and he's kind of getting back into the swing of things. So I'm glad Terry was able to play 3 games before, or 2 games, pardon me, before the Olympic break. So hopefully that gets him sauced up and ready to go for after Olympics. Carlson, yes, he's missed 3 to 5 weeks with that freak quad injury. He should be back after the Olympic break. McTavish, all of these guys, Cutter Goche, everybody, all these young guys have balled out and have forged their own path and are gaining the trust every single day of Joe Quenneville. And I think Quenneville is an understated MVP of the season. The proper coaching staff. How does that feel? A team that we love that has proper coaches? Wow. It's amazing. So 100%, it has absolutely exceeded my expectations so far this year. And it's been fun. They've won in fun ways. And even in games that they've lost, they've still put on a great product.
Oh yeah, I have to agree right there. They've had only a couple stinkers. Other than that, I mean, they've been on fire. They've been a very fun team to watch. I think a good point you make is the integration of rookies and veterans, and they've really put the league on notice to where we're not just a pesky team. We could be a force to be reckoned with, and you got to watch the Ducks. And I like that. I like that a lot. And it's not the same old Ducks, not walking to Anaheim, half full stadium, no real fire in the fans in the stands, and the Ducks playing mediocre hockey. I mean, Quenneville's got these guys whipped into shape about a year early, and with more reinforcements on the way, I mean, you got to be positive for the second half, right?
Oh yeah, I think the biggest, pardon me, I think the biggest elephant in the room is going to be the upcoming trade deadline, right? I know the Olympics, everybody's going to have it, but as soon as the Olympics are over on February 22nd and the guys fly back, I wouldn't be shocked because, again, those 4 guys that I mentioned, Gudas, Dostal, Lacombe, and Granlund, they're going to be basically their season doesn't stop. So they're going to be fully integrated. I wouldn't be shocked if that maybe those first 2 games, if not that first week back, you're going to see Villahuso a little bit more than Lucas Dostal. I wouldn't be shocked, depending on how far Czech Republic gets deep into the Olympic medal staging. I don't think Czech makes it to the finals. I think it'll be USA and Canada in the final. Shocker there, what's it going to be? But I think you have this unique situation this year with no All-Star break in the Olympics and the trade deadline being March 6th. So we're going to have a full week of play. I think it's about 4 games before the deadline. What is Pat Verbeek going to do? We've already heard the rumors about Panarin, and the Ducks have interest, but they have no interest in giving him the extension. I think that's going to deter a lot of teams. He wants an extension as soon as he's traded without playing a single second for that new team. Knowing Pat Verbeek, he'll be a little wishy-washy on that. I don't think he's going to love that fact. If they could somehow tell Panarin, hey, you come, wait, and then we'll give you an extension, I just don't think the Ducks are just going to go in blindly, especially when you're 1 year ahead of the curve. The Ducks have a lot of cap space, a lot of youthful energy, the free agent market. I think if the Ducks, again, get 2 or 3 middle, like B to A- players, like the VLs, and really stockpile this team and keep the nucleus together, getting to the playoffs is one thing. Garnering that experience for the guys is another. Winning a game in the playoffs is big. Winning a series would be massive. Am I saying right now I'm putting us on a pedestal saying Stanley Cup champs? No. I've seen stranger things happen, but I think the trade deadline is going to be the biggest thing coming up for the Ducks, especially with a massive homestand coming out of the Olympic break.
Yeah, I think right now my hopes for Verbeek in this time down right now is to be watching a lot of film and getting to know the league's rosters that are available, players that are available to be traded, or they have upcoming contracts expiring, and what you want to part with organizational wise to not give away the farm, to make it work, more than just 1 year for a rental, stuff like that. Like, I want Verbeek to be doing his homework, because right now I think all the GMs are going to be doing that right now. I think they're all going to be checking out the rest of the league, while some of their players, if not none of their players, on like most teams, will be hitting the All-Star, or not the All-Star, but the Olympics. So it's going to be a very interesting time, and then hockey's just going to be right back like a snap of a finger, and then we'll see where the Ducks go. But I'm very encouraged, man, because again, like we've said, we're a year ahead of schedule. We're looking really good. I think the confidence is growing each game we see this team play. Like, hey, man, we not only are we going to make the playoffs, we belong in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens when we get there.
And Verbeek's been very outspoken that he was asked, are you going to go to the Olympics, or are you going to go watch the Olympics, like from home? And he said, no, I know our guys are going to do fine. I'm going to go down to San Diego. I'm going to go down to the Ontario Hockey League. I'm going to go to our minor league system and see what the heck's going on. This is the only time of year that I can go without worrying about the Anaheim Ducks. So take a look at that depth system, look at the farm system, and figure out what is working, what is not working, integrate yourselves, and maybe he'll, garner a few ideas. But, you got Edmonton on February 25th. Winnipeg on the 27th. That wraps up, but the homestand continues. It is a 7-game homestand. So Edmonton, Winnipeg, flip the calendar to March. Calgary, divisional team. So there's 2 divisional games. Colorado, Islanders on a back-to-back. That's going to be tough. Colorado, we already know, number 1 team in the league, beat them 2-1 in a shootout. Then you got to go against an East Coast team on the next night. Montreal on March 6th, which is the trade deadline day. And then you end the homestand with St. Louis. So 2 games out of those 7 against division. Most of the month of March, the Ducks really don't see any divisional teams, right? You see Edmonton once, Calgary. Actually, let me flip through it again. So post All-Star break, last 2 games of February and the entire month of March, you get a grand total of 5 divisional games. 2 against Calgary, 2 against Edmonton, and 1 against Vancouver. The latter 3, a 3-game Canadian road trip, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. So you took care of business against your divisional teams, and it's back to playing East Coast teams in that undefined area of hockey of who are you? Okay, let's go beat this team.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be pretty cool, because I mean, we got, like you said, we got a long ways after Colorado of And yeah, I minus St. Louis out of that because we haven't played them. So we got a lot of East Coast teams in there before we get back to, like you said, division. And the good thing about that is when we do get back into those division games, it's lower tier division teams.
Yep.
So we're not
don't fall into a trap.
Yeah, don't fall into a trap. But outside that Edmonton game, it's mostly bottom tier teams if it stays the way it is.
Absolutely. So the overarching thing, and I'll wrap it up by saying this: opportunity is there.
Yeah.
The Ducks have played, not given, have played themselves into a wide open Pacific Division, 1 point out of first place, potentially 3 if Vegas wins tomorrow. But no matter what, you are within a game and a half, 2 games of being atop of your division. If anybody said at the beginning of the year that we would be sniffing around top 3 all season long, I'd say you're crazy.
That's
right?
True.
And again, imagine if that nine game losing streak didn't happen. Crazy, right? I think, contrary to popular belief, I think that 9 game losing streak was the best thing for us. You learn a lot. It lights that fire under you. And the Ducks essentially combated it by winning 7 in a row and getting themselves from 6th back to 3rd. So it was a wash at the end of the day. But I think the Ducks, whenever something good or bad happens in March or in April, they can look back to January and said, remember that?
Yeah.
What was wrong and we fixed it. Let's get back to the drawing board, fix again, or see how that worked and we fixed it. Keep on doing it. And that's where Joel Quinn will become so important at this time of year.
Now, just imagine this, though. It's not a 9 game losing streak, but it's a struggling streak, but they're still able to squeak out 3 wins and a tie or an overtime loss. You're talking about a team that could be at 70 points. So despite a 9 game losing streak, only 1 game out of first or 1 point out of first. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And I think, we've talked about it a lot as well, that there's so much parity in the NHL this year. Like best team, Colorado, who was running away with the whole damn thing earlier this year. All of a sudden, the team in their division, Minnesota's only 5 points out of first.
Yeah, they came back to earth a little bit.
They came back to earth. The worst team in the hockey is Vancouver at 42 points. But majority speaking in the Western Conference, there are teams like even Calgary. I know we kind of counted them out, but let's say one little stretch. They're at 50 points. To get in the playoffs, it's 61. They're only 5.5 out of a playoff spot. It's anybody's game. And I think that's what's made the NHL much more entertaining this year than it has in the past. I really do believe that.
I agree. They're keeping just about every fan base intrigued, which is good. It's always good. So
keep on rolling. And if the Ducks are on the right side of the scorecard at the end of the day, it is a great day.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I am Todd Fox. This is Dominique Lorenz from Catella Chronicles. Thank you for joining us on the Heaty Ducks post-game show. Any final thoughts, my man, because I'm going to play the Ducks win video and then the play out for us.
Man, I think overall, great back-to-back games against Vegas and Seattle. Great way. The one negative, why does the Olympic break have to happen? When the Ducks are playing strong, you just want to keep on playing for keeps. But hey, the boys have made it through this stretch. 30 wins. Think about that. 30 wins up until this point this year. One of the best records within their own division. 3rd place. Keep it rolling. Get your legs. The team knows it. This 2 weeks, if you're not going to the Olympics, they're going to train. They're going to do stuff on their own. But it's now buckle the seatbelt. The next month and a half, March and April, is going to be absolutely freaking nuts. And the team knows it, and they are going to be ready for it. So the Ducks come out, enjoy those 2 weeks. Todd and I are going to be on with some, podcasts and kind of focusing on some Olympics the next couple of weeks. But keep it tuned to the network, man. This is awesome time. We actually get to celebrate something because we know the Angels ain't going to do shit this year.
There you go. And on that, we'll catch you again. Look for the podcast and then the Olympic stuff. So good night, everybody.
Let's go. Fly together.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Anaheim Ducks win. And remember, Ducks fans, to check out the Ducks post-game show on the Halos in the Infield Network with Todd and Dom. Drive home safely, and we'll see you next game.